So this is a video for Algebra 1 Lesson 92, and it's due Monday, April 27th. It's due this coming Monday. These are complex fractions, simplifying complex fractions. So you will see fractions like, well, I'll just show you this one. Over x equals, or a over x divided by b over a plus x. This is a complex fraction. You've actually seen fractions like this when you see anything like 3 over 4 divided by 5 over 6. That's a complex fraction because it's fractions within a fraction. So the way you do it is you always multiply by this bottom fraction. So we're going to multiply, and we multiply by its reciprocal. So we flip it over, do any reducing we can do, like the 4 and the 6, you can take a 2 out of both of them, and then you just multiply straight across. 3 times 3 is 9, and 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, so we're going to apply this same principle here that we know to this with letters. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of the bottom, a plus x over b, and then nothing cancels because you cannot cancel that x with that x. Those x's do not cancel. So you would just leave with a times a plus x all over xb. That'd be your final answer. You wouldn't do anything else. You'd stop right there. You can't cancel those x's because that x has an addition in front of it, so you've got to leave it like it is. Okay, so then another one like that, erase that. You would have b over y divided by y over a plus y. So again, this is your top fraction, b over y, that's a y, divided by y over a plus y. So you'd multiply by a plus y over y. Again, nothing cancels, so you'd have b times a plus y over y squared, because y times y is y squared. Then let's see, you'll see them like this, am over n divided by x over nm. am over n, all divided by x over nm. So you're going to multiply by nm over x. You're going to flip that bottom one and then cancel anything that you can. The only thing I see that cancels are the n's. So we would have am squared over x because m times m is m squared. So that'd be your final answer on that one. So let's try another one like that. bt over as, and I'm dividing that by r over st. So top fraction bt over as, bottom fraction r over st. So I'm going to flip and have st over r. Cancel anything I can. This s and this s can cancel, and that leaves me a bt squared, because t times t is squared, over ar. So that's the way you'd leave that one. Then we change a little bit, and we have to factor. So I've got 3x over 6x plus 12, all divided by 9 over x plus 2. So what I want to do here is I need to factor, because 6x plus 12 will factor. I'll leave the 3x alone. So I am going to flip the bottom one. I'm still going to flip this and have x plus 2 over 9. Still going to flip that bottom one. And then on this 6x plus 2, I'm going to go ahead and take a 6 out. That leaves x plus 2. So that's what I'm talking about. You have to factor. Okay? So now I've got an x plus 2 and an x plus 2. One on the top, one on the bottom, so they can cancel. I also have a 3 that it can either go into the 9 or it can go into the 6. So it doesn't matter. I'm going to take 3 out of 6 and it leaves a 2. So now I've got to be real careful. I've got this 2 left and this 9 left. So that'd be x over 18. That's that final answer on that one. So sometimes you're going to have to factor. Okay, so let's look at another one where you have to factor, or you might have to factor. So I've got x squared minus x over 9, and I'm dividing it by x minus 1 over 3x. X squared minus x over 9, and I'm dividing it by x minus 1 over 3x. X squared minus x over 9 and x minus 1 over 3x. So again, flip the bottom one. It becomes 3x over x minus 1. So that flips the bottom one. And then I can factor x squared minus 1. Take an x out. That leaves x minus 1. So then x minus 1 and x minus 1 cancel. 3 can go into 9 and leave a 3. So I've got this x and this x, which is x squared over 3. So that's your final answer on that one. Okay, then we change a little bit depending on how it looks, depending on how the complex fraction looks. You'll see some like 1 over x divided by 1 minus 1 over x. 1 over x divided by 1 minus 1 over x. So what you're going to do here, because we've got this extra work down here with the subtraction sign, what you're going to do is you're going to find the common denominator of all the denominators that you see. So for example, x is a denominator here and x is a denominator here. The denominator for the 1 is just 1, so we don't really consider it. So you're going to find what's called the common denominator. You'll know what a common denominator is. And you're going to multiply every piece by that denominator. Okay? Now this is not the way the book shows, so you need to make sure you pay very, very close attention to what I'm showing you on this and do it this way, because this is a shortcut. Okay? And it works every time. Find the common denominator, multiply every piece by it. So here I've got x times 1 over x. Well, those x's cancel. It leaves a 1. Here I've got x times 1, which is x. And here I've got x over x. So that cancels, minus 1. So that's your simplified fraction there. You've simplified that complex fraction. Okay? Let's try another one like that. 1 minus 3 over 2x. And I'm dividing it by 5 over 2x. So again, that 2x looks a little weird. So again, I'm going to find the common denominator, which the common denominator is here, 2x. 2x here, 2x here, a 1 here, so we just use 2x. So I'm going to multiply each piece by 2x. So then here they cancel. 2x times 1 is 2x. Minus 3, because those 2x's cancel. So on the top I've got 2x, because 2x times 1 is 2x. These cancel and leave a 3. Over these 2x's cancel and leave 5. So that's that answer. Okay? So that's the lesson. Now what I want to do is go over a few in the lesson, assign the lesson, that kind of stuff. Again, it's due Monday. So let me write this up here. So on lesson 92, you're going to do the warm-up, which is on page 609. You're going to do practice. Now I think on mine CS, we're going to do all the practice, but I've changed my mind. We're just going to do A through D on the practice. Then on the lesson, you're going to do 1 through 6, number 11, 13, 14, 17, 20, 23, 27, and 29. 1 through 6, 11, 13, 14, 17, 20, 23, 27, and 29. Okay, now there's some I want to talk about before I let you go on this. For example, number 2 and 3 on the warm-up. So warm-up, number 2 has 4x minus 16 and then x minus 4. And you're asked for your least common multiple. So what you want to do is, because a least common multiple is a common denominator. So what you want to do is you want to factor this 4x minus 16. So that would leave 4 and an x minus 4. This one doesn't factor. So your least common multiple has to have the x minus 4 because they both have it. And then you also have to have the 4. So that would be your least common multiple for number 2 on the warm-up. Then number 3 on the warm-up, you've got 18x squared, and you've got 9x. You've got 18x squared and 9x. So again, for 18 and 9, you should know that your common denominator, your least common multiple, would be 18. And then for the x's, you take the biggest x there. So it would be 18x squared. So that works for 2 and 3 on the warm-up. Then let's see, I want to run over the practice right quick. So on A, you've got x over 4. And you're dividing by 3 times x minus 3 over x. So this is where you're just going to flip this denominator. You're going to flip this bottom one. So you're going to multiply by x over 3 times x minus 3. You're going to see if there's anything that will cancel, which there's not. So we just multiply. X times x is x squared. 4 times 3 is 12 times x minus 3. And that's the way you'd leave that. You cannot take this x out of that x squared because you'd be trying to cancel a subtraction with a division, and you can't do that. Then on B, we've got b over cd, and we're dividing that by 2b over c. So then again, I multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. So I flip it to be c over 2b. And then I cancel whatever I can cancel. So it looks like my c's cancel and my b's also cancel. So this is a good one for me to show you, to remind you that if everything's gone on the top, there's a 1 left. And then I've got a d and a 2 in the bottom. So 1 over 2d is your final answer on that one. Then on C, it is 4x squared over x minus 3. And I'm dividing that by x over 3x minus 9. So on this one, we need to factor. You should be getting to the point where you can look at things and go, okay, I can take a 3 out of the 3x and out of the 9. You should be getting to that point. So this factors into 3 times x minus 3. So when I flip it, because I've got to flip this bottom one, when I flip it, because that's my top fraction, this is my bottom fraction, x over 3x minus 9. So I'm going to put x times x minus 3 over x, because of that x right there. So I took this right here, and I just flipped it and put it right there. I factored, whoops, sorry. That's why that's going to confuse everybody. That should be a 3, not an x, because it's 3 times x minus 9. So I took x over 3 times x minus 3, and I flipped it to be 3 times x minus 3 over x. Cancel what you can, which you should recognize the x minus 3's cancel, and that this x comes out of x squared and leaves an x. So I don't have anything left on the bottom. So you can put a 1 if you want to. You don't have to. Having a 1 left on the bottom, you don't have to put, but you do have to put a 1 on the top, okay? And then 4x times 3 is 12x. So you could just write this as 12x. That's C. Then the last one on the practice is D, and it is 1 over m plus 5 divided by 2 over m plus x over m. Okay, so these are the ones that we did. We did 2 of them at the end of the notes, where we have to find the common denominator, because I've got all this extra addition stuff in here that I've got to take care of, okay? So your common denominator is m. It's just m. So you're going to multiply everything by m. You're going to multiply that by m. You're going to multiply that by m. You're going to multiply this one by m and this one by m. So then m's cancel here. I'm left with 1 plus 5n on the top. The m's cancel here and m's cancel here, so I'm left with 2 plus x. So that's the final answer on D, okay? Then for 1 and 2, make sure that you factor everything before you cancel. So on 1 and 2, you need to factor. For example, I'll just show you on 1. It's 15x to the 4th over x minus 4. Then that x squared minus 10x plus 24 is x minus 6, x minus 4. And then on the bottom, you can take a 3x squared out, and you get x plus 4. You take a 3x squared out, you get x plus 4. So now you should be able to see from there what you can cancel. Like your x minus 4's cancel, x squared goes into x to the 4th. You can take 3 out of 15, and that'll show what you have left, okay? Make sure on number 2 that you flip the second one to be times 1 over x minus, to be times x minus 6 over 1, and then factoring that x squared minus 36, that's the difference of 2 squares, x minus 6x plus 6. And then you should be able to factor the top one, and then cancel what you can, okay? And write down what's left. Okay, and then let's see. I want to do number 5 with you. Number number 5, you've got 5x over 10x plus 20, and you're dividing it by 15 over x plus 2. Okay, so I'm going to get you to a certain point, just like I did on number 1 and number 2. Some of you, I started you on number 1 on the last lesson, and then you didn't finish it. You didn't finish number 1. So make sure you finish what I start. Like I've started 1 and 2 for you, make sure you finish it. I'm going to start number 5 for you, make sure you finish it. Okay? So you're going to flip the x plus 2 over 15. And then this right here, you can take a 10 out and have x plus 2. So now you should be able to see what cancels. X plus 2 cancels. 5 can go into 10 and leave something. And then just make sure you multiply through like you need to, that kind of stuff, okay? Then let's see, number 11, that's the stuff that we just covered. Number 13, you want to write an inequality and graph it, and it says it's got to be greater than 7 and less than 39. So greater than 7 and less than 39. Now I'm going to leave you to graph that. There's the inequality. I'm going to leave you to graph it. Then on number 14, all you need to do is 80 plus or minus 15. That's all I want to see. I want you to do 80 plus 15, 80 minus 15, and put the answers. I don't want you to do anything else on that. On 17, remember, if you've got y equals positive x squared, that means it opens up and you have a minimum. It opens up like this and you have a minimum, okay? If you have a negative x squared, it opens down and you have a maximum, okay? And you're asked on 17 which one of them has a maximum. So look for the negative x squared on 17. Then number 20 is just Pythagorean theorem. Number 23, you've got a triangle like this, and it's on a grid. So count these boxes, and then use Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. This is number 23. So you're going to find C, that C right there. This is like A, this is B, and you're going to find C. So once you find C, you're going to multiply it by 5 miles, okay? So work your Pythagorean theorem, find what C is, and then multiply it by 5 miles, because everything represents 5. All the boxes represent 5 miles. Then on 27, the USDA hardiness zones 5B and 6A. This means that plants in these zones must be able to tolerate an average minimum temperature range greater than or equal to negative 15 and less than negative 5. So greater than or equal to negative 15 and less than negative 5. So that's what 27 looks like. And then on 29, I just wanted to show you 29. You've got this formula, h equals negative 16t squared plus vt plus s, where v is the initial velocity and s is the initial height. When an object falls, its initial velocity is 0. Write an equation for the height of an object t seconds after it begins to fall from 14,400 feet, then factor it. Okay, so that means my initial velocity is 0 because it just told me if it begins to fall, the initial velocity is 0. And it starts from a height of 14,400. So then that's negative 16t squared plus 14,400. And so this is the equation that's the first thing you're supposed to do, is write the height representing it, okay? Then you're supposed to factor it. So we can take a negative 16 out. That leaves t squared minus 900. And then you should be able to factor that in the difference of two squares. You need a t and a t. And you need to know the square root of 900, and you need to put a plus minus. So that'll finish that one out there for you. Again, make sure you finish the ones, because some of them I just started, and you need to finish them. Again, this is due Monday the 27th.